Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet the daughter.
That must make me Kevin the dad.
Really? Wow.
Pretty sure.
I would hope so. All right, Dad, you want to tell everyone what we're listening to today?
This week we are attending a day at the races.
Oh boy, that sounds fun!
Okay, so obviously it's Queen. This is the follow-up to A Night at the Opera.
Which you think they do day before night, but no.
Well, I mean, they're both Marx Brothers movie titles.
True.
And I think it's just like Night at the Opera, classic movie, Day at the Races, decent movie. And we could almost say that about the two albums. But
yes,
we are concentrating on A Day at the Races. Mm-hmm. And before we get into that, I'm going to give the Reader's Digest version of Queen.
Because Bohemian Rhapsody, while a good movie, there's still some inaccuracies.
And plus, the reason I'm giving a short version is because if we did the complete thing, that would be a podcast unto itself, a whole series.
Queen's a behemoth.
Right. So Queen originated in a hard rock psychedelic band called Smile, featuring, among others, drummer Roger Taylor and guitarist Brian May. Bassist Tim Staffel had a friend, one Farouk Freddie Bulsara, who was a fan of the band. When Staffel left, Bulsara came on board. He came up with the name change from Smile to Queen. And after going through a few bass players, they settled on John Deacon, who had a good chemistry with the other members.
The internet loves John Deacon, by the way. We all agree he's like the cool uncle or like the cool little brother of the band.
He's like the secret weapon.
Yeah.
Freddie changed his last name to Mercury based on the line, "Mother Mercury, look what you've done to me," from their song My Fairy King.
Oh, cool.
Freddie also designed the band's logo based on zodiac designs. Cancer the Crab for Brian, Leo the Lions for John and Roger, and the two fairies for Virgo for Freddie.
Yeah, and again in Bohemian Rhapsody they show him drawing it, which is pretty cool.
Their debut album, Queen, came out in 1973. The imaginatively titled follow-up, Queen 2...
They needed work on the names a little bit.
came out in 1974. Also in 1974, they put out their album Sheer Heart Attack, which had the hit Quick Killer Queen, which broke them in the States. A Night at the Opera came out in 75. That's the one with Bohemian Rhapsody, which went to number 9 on Billboard in early 1976, but went to number 2 in 1992 when it was re-released due to it being in the Wayne's World movie.
Oh, I thought it was because Freddie died the year before.
Well, that too. Okay, A Day at the Races came out in 76, followed by News of the World, Jazz, The Game, and on and on and on. Yep. The Game was their last big record in the United States.
Really?
Yeah, though their other albums after that did well in England and other parts of the world. And there were the massive tours, there was Live Aid, there was Wembley, which they played 2 nights in 1986.
Yep.
They couldn't get a third night, so they played at Nebworth Park, which was their last performance with Freddie.
Cool. And they also did a song with David Bowie, which was pretty cool.
Too much pressure. Towards the end of the 80s, people noticed Freddie looked gaunt and there were rumors of AIDS, but Freddie denied this. He'd been diagnosed, though, as HIV positive in 1987, but only his inner circle knew. I mean, these days, it would have been out instantly.
Yeah, he would have felt more comfortable being out with it now anyway. Or maybe he wouldn't, because his personal life was very private, so we'll never know.
On November 23rd, 1991, Freddie made a statement that, yes, he did have AIDS. He died the next day.
Yeah, and you said you were you were freaking out when you heard about it on the radio.
Oh, yeah, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget. There were tributes and charity concerts. John Deacon retired in 1997, but he still keeps an eye on the finances. And to this day, Brian and Roger say they do not make a financial move without first consulting John.
All right, that's cool. By the way, Deacon, if you ever listen to this someday, just know, thanks, man. You wrote some good songs.
Roger Taylor did like solo stuff. He had a little band thing on the side.
Yep.
Brian May went back and got his PhD in astrophysics.
He's wicked smart.
He put it off for only 34 years.
Hey, but at least he went back and did it. Most people would have been like, no, I'll just rest on my rock and roll royalties for the rest of my life until I die. But nope, he went back.
So now he is Dr. Brian May to you, pal. And eventually Brian and Roger teamed up with Paul Rogers and then Adam Lambert.
Yep.
And last year was the movie, which I still have not seen, but when it comes on Netflix, I will be there watching it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was so good.
Okay, now for Day at the Races itself. This this was the second record I ever bought.
Really?
The first was A Night at the Opera. Yep.
Oh yeah, you said the first was A Night at the Opera.
Yep.
So did you buy it like when it came out as a kid, or did you wait a few years later to buy it?
No, I bought it right when it came out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Not exactly sure where I got it. There were record stores back then, so I'm imagining maybe some local record store or department store or something.
Okay.
I just remember, like, back in the day, believe it or not, it was tough being a Queen fan back then because
Why?
critics hated them.
Oh yeah, they hated Bohemian Rhapsody when they came out.
And, like, I really didn't even know a lot of people in my circle who liked them. And there was some people, like, if you said you liked Queen, you got hit with, oh, they're so gay, or the classic Queen is queer.
Oh no, that's bad alliteration.
But
it's good alliteration, but it's bad. Oh,
it's so good it's bad, or it's so bad it's still bad.
It's very bad.
But, you know, I love their sound, and I bought every album right up to the works. But after that, I just didn't feel the same way about the band.
Maybe that's because, well, you said they didn't sell as well in the U.S. Maybe it's like the cultural divide between Britain and the United States.
I think it might have had to do with this is the 80s and we're all going to be lean and mean. And I think the last thing Queen ever was lean and mean. And I think the 80s were probably a tough decade for them to adjust to. But when the albums finally came out on CD back in 1991, I bought all of them from Sheer Heart Attack up to the works, but eventually sold or donated Hot Space in the Works because
You grew out of them?
I just wasn't feeling it. They had like one or two good songs on them, but it wasn't like, yeah, the whole album.
What's the album? Is it Innuendo? Is the name of the album that they did?
That's the very last one when Freddie was still alive, yeah.
Have you listened to that one?
No, I haven't, but after like doing all this research and what have you, I think I'm going to listen to the later stuff, and I've already ordered Live at Wembley 86.
Oh, cool. There's a live recording?
2-disc set, yep.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yep. Okay, so A Day at the Races was actually produced by the band. The previous albums had been produced by Roy Thomas Baker, and I'm not sure why they didn't choose to go with him, but I guess listening to A Day at the Races, it made me realize they did learn a lot from Roy in the studio.
What they were able to do and making it sound? Yeah.
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Oh, about the
Or do you just want to jump into it? Or because you said you had feelings and thoughts about...
Yeah, that's what I always say to Dad. He's like, have you listened to the album? And I say, yes, and I have thoughts and feelings. Okay, so when you were coming to get me from school so I could come home for the weekend, I'm like, all right, I need a phrase that sums up how I feel about this album in general. And the phrase I came up with, or rather the phrase I decided to use was, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And I feel awful. We'll go into more why when I get into my final thoughts, but I think as we go song by song, you'll kind of see why I think that. What do you think of this album?
It was always going to be tough to follow up A Night at the Opera, no matter what they did. And I think they did a decent job. It's a good album. I love it. It's not like their greatest album ever, but I think it's pretty solid.
I would say it's meh.
The first song is Tie Your Mother Down, which Brian wrote, but it's sung by Freddie.
Yes.
And the band always insisted that they were a democracy. If you wrote the song, basically you were in charge of it. You could sing on it, you could do whatever.
Deacon never sang, though, because he's like, I don't sing.
And, you know, even though Brian wrote this one, I could never imagine him singing this song.
I can't imagine him singing it either, because, like, what I wrote about this song is that it's a great opener. You know, the opening gong hooked me in because it made me think of the gong at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody, so maybe that might have been a nod to it, I don't know. The transition from the orchestral sound to the rock and roll really took my breath away, and, like, I didn't expect this song to be such a headbanger. And you can tell Freddie is definitely having fun with this song, and it's like he's giving you permission to be bad. And my favorite lyric he sings in this song is, take your little brother swimming with a brick. And when I heard that, I went, oh my God.
That's all right. That's what he says.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I'm like, that's not all right with me, and I'm an only child, so I don't have a brother.
Well, it's like he's trying to spend time with his girl, and
Yeah.
the whole rest of the family gets in the way.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to this song because, you know, a lot of people have had that one relationship, like as a teenager or as in life, that we've kind of kept secret from our family, either because A, they don't approve of the relationship, or B, we kind of want to keep it private for a little while. And I feel like this song really conveys the excitement of forbidden fruit really, really well.
Well, I always kind of looked at it as like, yeah, I'm going to my girlfriend's house. We're going to hang out, and oh my God, the whole family's here. What the heck are you people doing here? You were just ruining my mojo.
Like you're getting,
son of a.
like they're having a good time in the bedroom, and all of a sudden somebody knocks on the door.
What are you doing there, Kurish Krapaj?
Don't let Vavva find you. Oh my God. You make a sex in this house? Oh no.
Okay, the one thing about this song I love is Brian opens it up with one of his greatest riffs ever. After that intro, which took me some years to realize that it was for some reason they did the white man intro. Like if you listen to that,
They distorted it?
I have no idea why it opens that way, but then it just goes in the down and you're just like, oh yeah, let's
party.
Bang the heads of those that will not bang.
Like in Bohemian Rhapsody when they bang their heads to Wayne. I messed that up. In Wayne's World, when they bang their heads to Bohemian Rhapsody, you can bang your head to this song too.
One thing I love about this song is the Britishness of it. Just
which part?
Well, just some of the lines that Brian came up with, like, I don't give a light, and put a stop to all that grousing and sniping, and your mama and your daddy gonna plague me till I die. I mean,
plague.
This is a teenager with a pretty good vocabulary.
Yeah.
Quite.
You should hear this song, I'm Going Slightly Mad, because it's full of so many British expressions for I'm going crazy that it's really fun. Like, this kettle is boiling over, I'm seeing 1001 daffodils. It's really fun. It's like they opened up a thesaurus and they spilled it out in this song, but it's great. Okay, You Take My Breath Away. This is probably, after Somebody to Love, obviously, this is my favorite song on the album because those opening vocal harmonies are intoxicatingly beautiful and haunting, and the whole song is haunting after that, and it has this dark sound to it with Freddie's voice and the minor chords and the piano. And contrasting it to the previous song, it just goes to show you don't need a whole lot of flashy sounds to make a song sound great. Sometimes you just need a great voice and a piano playing the notes. And another nice touch was when Brian May kind of made the guitar part kind of sound like he was playing the cello almost.
Yeah.
This song took my breath away because I made that pun on purpose. Like, it's obsession without being too creepy. The only time it ever comes across that way is the ending when it seems like Freddie is saying he would die for this person and literally have his breath taken away. And just the way Freddie sang it at the end made me wish he was still alive. Like, no, Freddie, I don't want them to take your breath away. Come back.
Well, I think it's as breathy as the title, if that's a word. And I mean, you listen to that voice, and good God, the man could sing.
Oh my God, yes. And I mean, in Bohemian Rhapsody, what he says is when he has like a informal audition for Queen, when he sings for them, they're like, oh my God, you have a range. He's like, I was born with 4 extra incisors, so that means more room in my mouth for more notes to sing. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, because he hated his teeth when he was a kid, but then when he was older and he got famous, people said, hey, you gonna get like cosmetic surgery? He's like, no, I mess with the teeth, I mess with my voice.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I've always liked the way it ends. It's just got this cool ending with the voices going, I love you, take my breath, and they just kind of merge together.
Yeah. All right. Long Away, which they never say in the lyrics, I don't think. Dad's going to double check right now, so I'll give my opinion while he looks that up. So for me, the song was kind of boring. I mean, it sounded pretty, but the lyrics were mostly lost on me. The only one that stuck with me was, for every star in heaven, there's a sad soul here today. And, you know, that's how when you feel when any person you love dies, or anybody who was important to you dies. And I think, you know, knowing what happened to Freddie with how he died and how everyone was freaking out when he passed away, that lyric just takes on, like, a whole different meaning. And not too much else to say about this song, except they really let Roger's drumming come through with those cymbals.
And towards the end of the song, yes, he sings Such a Long, Long Away, but only once.
Oh, okay, cool.
The rest of it is Such a Long, Long Way, Such a Long, Long Way.
Okay.
Let's see. You know, after all these years of listening to Queen, when I listen to this again, it hit me that when Brian sings his own stuff, it's always the bittersweet songs, and I just cannot picture Freddie doing this one.
I mean, he sings bittersweet stuff, but yeah, it wouldn't make sense in his voice. Like, you could hear him, like, doing, like, vocals in the background, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, but Brian there's just a quality to his voice that brings that, I don't know if you'd call it, like, sadness or regret, but like I said, it's just part of his bittersweet collection. I think he keeps those songs for himself.
Probably. I mean, have you heard it when he did the duet for Who Wants to Live Forever with Freddie for Highlander?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so sad hearing the two of them sing together. Like, the first time I heard that song in the movie theater, they showed it during a scene where Freddie's starting to realize that he might have AIDS. Like, he doesn't know yet, but he's doing research, and then they play Who Wants to Live Forever in the background. And Nate and I went to go see the movie together, and I was just, like, sobbing my eyes. I'm like, no, I don't want Freddie to die. All right. The Millionaire Waltz, and my first note is, yes, it's actually a waltz, because I was burned so bad by Tango in the Night with Fleetwood Mac. I'm like, if you call a song a waltz and you don't make it a waltz, I'm gonna be mad, Hulk smash.
Oh boy, wait till you get to Queen's album called Jazz.
There's no jazz.
There's no jazz.
Well, yeah, I know that. I've heard some of the songs on jazz before. So Millionaire Waltz has some good moments and some okay moments. The opening part is strong, and the way Freddie is playing around with sounding like an aristocrat, it sounds incredibly posh and ornate. The one part that sounds really creepy is the distortion on the word forever, where it feels like Freddie is singing right at you, and it makes you think, oh my god, this guy's insane. Like, one minute he's having a tea party, next minute he's coming undone at the seams, and it kind of gave me like a Mad Hatter vibe from Alice in Wonderland. Again, the song is okay, and I liked how Brian May played along with the waltz on his guitar, but not overly memorable for me.
Well, I call this camp song #1 on the album.
Camp song number one?
It's definitely campy.
It's more campy than Batman, the TV series, or not as campy?
I don't know. I mean, you'd never catch Led Zeppelin doing something like this, which is why we needed Queen to do this.
Good point.
I mean, it's goofy, yes, but they don't take themselves seriously. And,
no, not Freddie either.
Oh, no. He's going to do what he's going to do, and he's going to have his fun, and that's that. I mean, on the night at the opera, it was lazing on a Sunday afternoon, which is just,
I may have heard that before.
So off the wall, goofy, but fun. And I put this right there with it.
Well, if you're going to name a couple of your albums after Groucho Marx movies and Marx Brothers movies, then, yeah, they're probably goofy people. All right, You and I. And my first note is, all right, a Deacon song! The song is cotton candy, nice and fluffy and innocent. There's no dark undertones like Freddie's songs or Brian's songs. It's simple and sweet. It's not my favorite song John Deacon ever wrote, but I like it better than the two previous songs. Again, it's okay.
Yep, the silent one strikes again.
Yep.
And like the others always tried to get him to sing his stuff, but he just never would.
I don't even know what it sounds like when he talks.
I don't think I've ever heard him talk. I'm sure it's probably out there on YouTube.
Oh yeah, there's probably interviews we just haven't seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably just sits there and nods his head yes or no.
He also wears these really adorable sweaters. It's like they're all sitting there with their leather jackets and flashy stuff, and he looks like he's wearing a sweater his mom knit him for Christmas.
Well, someone had to be the grown-up in the group, I guess.
I mean, yeah.
And I thought, he's definitely the hopeless romantic of the group. Well,
really?
Yeah, with the songs that he's written, like You're My Best Friend, and, okay, another one, Bites the Dust. Yeah, it's
Not
a poor
really.
example.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does write, I guess, like you said, fluffy songs, I guess.
Yeah, cotton candy songs.
Yeah, they're catchy, they're, maybe not going to stick in your head forever, but,
When you listen to them, when you need to hear something sweet and fluffy, it'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Somebody to Love. I mean, this is the song. It's the hit, and it's great. I remember listening to it for the first time as a kid and bursting into tears because I was so moved by the voices. Because to me, the way that they sang it, to me it sounded like opera. And opera always used to make me cry as a kid because it was like, oh my god, like I was so moved by that even when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So re-listening to Somebody to Love, it's still the best song on the album. The part that always gets me when I listen to it is the fine, me somebody to love. When all the vocal harmonies layer on and build and build and build and build and build, and it's like, oh my god.
Now, was this song in some movie that you used to watch? Some Anne Hathaway movie?
Oh, Ella Enchanted?
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that
when
was
she
I
sings
couldn't
at the
remember.
bar, yeah. Because I was about to say, this song brings back good memories, because, like, we got to sing this song in high school choir my junior year, and that was fun. But the childhood movie it made me think of was the scene in Happy Feet, where all the penguins are singing, and then this little penguin comes along who can't sing, but he can dance, so he's forbidden to dance, and he's trying not to, but then somebody to love comes on, and he can't help it, and he starts dancing. It's a really bittersweet scene.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I believe I was not forced to sit through that movie with you.
I think I watched it at like our YMCA camp or something when I was a kid, because I don't remember too much of that movie.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the best song, and you know, there's really not much more to say because we all know what that feeling is when we listen to it.
Yeah, it's definitely the big hit on the album, and it's no Bohemian Rhapsody, but that gospel choir comes pretty darn close.
Oh, they hired a gospel choir for this?
No, it's Brian, Roger, and Freddie
Okay.
layered and layered and layered their voices until they got a 100-voice choir.
Oh, cool.
But here's the thing. There's only 3 of them. So I'm thinking 99-voice choir or 102-voice choir. You can't
Yes!
get 100. Even though to me it never sounded like 100 voices in the first place.
Yeah, plus or minus 3. You bring up a good point.
But yeah, I mean, again, hearing this on the radio back in 1976, it's just, oh my God, this is so different. This
Yeah.
is so different from anything else that's on the radio.
Yeah.
And the nice thing was that, like, this stuff was so different, but it was hits. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
big.
Now, do you know who introduced you to Queen? Was it Uncle Joey who introduced you to Queen when you were a kid? Or
No, I had
someone?
just heard Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio and thought, what the heck is this? And how do I get me some? And it turned out that your uncle knew some kid in school who had the album, but he didn't want it, and he was just going to sell it.
And you were like, gimme, gimme, gimme.
$5 later, it was mine.
Best $5 you ever spent?
Yeah,
Huh.
pretty much.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, White Man. I gotta say, I was not expecting Queen to get political man, unlike Lindsey Buckingham, who is apolitical. When I read the title of this song, I was thinking, oh my god, where the hell is this gonna go? What are they gonna talk about? But then the rock and roll kicked in, and I was in for the ride, and I was bopping my head along, and like slowly, like I was sitting in the library, and it was really quiet, but I could just feel the rage of the activist building inside of me, and in my head I was going, call him out, Freddie! Call him out! And it also makes you think about how, you know, it's like, oh wow, because Freddie was originally, his family was from South Africa, right? Or somewhere near there, Zanzibar?
Yeah, Zanzibar.
They're from Zanzibar, and it's like, if you think about the political turmoil, like on the African continent and in South Africa particularly, it's like, oh yeah. And it's like, I wasn't expecting a British band to talk about this subject, but if you think about Britain's history as an ancient world power, it makes sense. Because if this was released now, normally you would think that an American group was doing this. This would have been, and at the time in one of my classes, we're talking about protest songs, and I'm thinking, oh, this would have been a great song to add. This song had me pumped, and the way it ended with the sound of a bomb coming down, it was like, yep, we done screwed up.
Uh-huh. And again, this is one that Brian wrote, but
I can't picture him singing this.
no, Freddie pulls off being very PO'd very nicely.
Well, yeah.
And the thing that always got me was we've got Brits singing about the Native American plight, about, oh, the red man knows war with his hands and his knives on the
Yeah.
Bible you swore for your battle.
Well, I mean, the English colonists who came over to the United States, I don't know.
Yeah.
Talking about that, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, colonial history.
And the thing that always like kind of undercuts the rage is when the instrumental part was bouncing back and forth between the speakers, and you get shaving and haircut 2 bits.
Yeah, I thought I heard that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, that's probably not helping this song's message.
Probably not.
Because you go, "Din-din-din-din-din-din-din."
Oh, yeah, that does detract from the message. The bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, they'd better have a good-ass reason for putting it in there, then. Did you find anything for why they put shaving a haircut?
Nope, but I'm sure there's probably a reason out there. But I always loved how the song ends, though, with that final boom.
It's like,
From
oh
Roger.
yeah, we killed everyone.
Sorry.
Yay. Ugh. All right. Good old-fashioned Loverboy. Now, every time this song reminded me that all of Freddie's songs have this need to be loved and this want to be loved. And this song is like, I can be the perfect man for you. I can be whatever you want me to be. And I think that yearning he always writes in his songs was something he had all his life until he met and, fell in love with Jim Hutton, who he described as his husband. Because with his sexuality, he didn't really know where he fit in, didn't know if he'd find the one. This song is very fun, very distinguished, but again, another song that's just okay, nothing more.
Camp song number 2.
Oh, really?
On day 3. Oh, come on.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, with the oohs in the background and just, my favorite line, dining at the Ritz, we'll meet at 9, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Guy, 9 o'clock, I've probably already eaten.
Maybe they're
like
going
an
for
hour
drinks.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know, or late night dinner. Whatever, but it's like...
And I like how in the background they're counting out the time. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6,
like
7,
counting
8,
the
9.
hours that go by, yeah.
And then you get the little ding.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hotel
But yeah,
bell.
it's another fun, goofy song.
Yep. All right, Drowse. My first note is, ooh, a song by Roger. And I'm just going to say what I've always said. He has the most underrated singing voice.
Thank you.
Yes! All right! It's just as powerful as Freddie's, and maybe even more impressive in range with the high note that he hits in Bohemian Rhapsody. Unless that was studio trickery, don't ruin that
No,
for me.
he's
Okay.
known for his falsetto.
Good. All right. So, that being said, this song is once again just okay. I like how it captures the paradox of, I still feel this now, where it's like when you're in your late teens, early 20s, and you want to do so much while at the same time you also want to take it easy. Because it's like, I want to do so much with my life, but it's like, but I got the rest of my life to live, so I'll just chill. My favorite lyric is, half the time we'd broaden our minds more in the pool hall than we did in the school hall. Because, yeah, that's true. Sometimes living life is the best education that there is, and often just by living life, you learn more practical lessons than you do in school. However, the ending was really confusing, and I'm not really sure why Roger just starts talking to himself out of nowhere. Maybe he's given up on his dreams and isn't really sure what to do.
No, because I've always looked at it as like he's looking back on his past and realizing, the time that he's wasted. Like, never thought I'd be the boy next door. Always thought I'd be something more. Like.
Oh, maybe. Is that why he's listing all those people that he wants to be before it's
Yeah,
too late?
I think so. And I like how Brian's guitar sets the drowsy mood / tone of the song. The I guess kind of like a slide guitar. Like,
Yeah. Two things I want to say about Roger before we move on. One, I've seen a video of him singing recently with Brian May playing guitar on stage. I want to say maybe he was 50 to 60 years old in that video, and he still can hit those notes. So whatever he's doing, he's really maintained his voice. And two, I really can't wait for when we get to Night at the Opera. That way we can talk about I'm in Love with My Car, because that's the song in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie that they shit on. Because I guess the person who they wanted to be their producer was like, Bohemian Rhapsody shouldn't be the single, it should be I'm in Love with My Car. And even Roger was like, well, thank you, but no, Bohemian Rhapsody should be the single. Like, apparently, I don't know, does that song deserve to be shit on?
No, it does not.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get to it when we cover it then.
Yes, we will.
All right.
But yeah, I think, like you said before, very underrated singing voice. I mean, he's got an incredible range.
Yeah.
And I just really love this song.
Okay. Teo Toriate, or Let Us Cling Together.
All the Japanese I will ever know.
Well, if this is your source of learning Japanese, then yeah. I'm assuming there's a reason Brian May wrote some of these lyrics in Japanese. Was it for the Japanese fans, or was he in love with a Japanese girl at the time? What's going on?
I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe it was for the fans. I don't know everything.
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
Aw, man. I don't know what's more disappointing. This or the time you didn't know what the bell was in Love is the Drug. Aw, man. All right. Well, I think it's a very sweet image of this song to have, the loved one watching over you. It's very comforting. But again, I'm bored. The only interesting part is how the album comes full circle by incorporating the musical distortion that kicked off the album and placing it at the very end. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Circle has no beginning. Also, do we know who's singing the choir part? Is that them again, or did they actually find a choir for this song? We're doing some research.
On the notes.
Say anything on the inside of the jacket? No?
No, but it's always
Okay.
them. They never really had any outsiders. If they did, they would give them credit.
Yeah.
I mean, the only person who gets credit here is their Japanese friend and interpreter. And God, this print is small. I think it says Chika Kujiroka. Sorry, this print is teeny weeny, eeny meeny small.
And it's in cursive, too, so it's all slanted.
No, it's italic.
Oh, it's
But
italicized?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's slanted. And it's the CD booklet, so yeah, the print is very small.
Yeah.
The one thing, like the English translation
Yeah, I've looked it up.
sounds a little stiff and formal.
It's probably why they wrote it in Japanese.
Yeah,
it cool.
it sounds oh so much.
Exotic. Ugh.
Yeah, well, nicer, more
Yeah.
romantic, and let us cling together. Like
Okay.
peaches in a can clinging, or
Eesh. Or like, oh, I don't know. All right, so my final thoughts on this album. This album is okay. I was expecting to find some new Queen songs that I'd never heard before that would take me by surprise and wonder, oh my God, why haven't I listened to this sooner? And I did find a couple of those, but not that many. So I would say if you want to listen to some Queen songs that are rather obscure and you want to discover some new stuff, then hell yeah, give this album a shot. However, I think that this is one case where you can absolutely cherry pick, like the campy songs that Dad was talking about. If you're not into camp, then yeah, you can skip those if you want. I will say Queen knows how to write hit songs. They do. But the songs that aren't hits just kind of fade into the background and bleed into one another. I'm very disappointed though with this album. Queen wasn't able to sweep me off my feet.
Aww.
And I wanted to like this album. I did. But hey, we review albums, and if I don't like it, then I don't.
Then
like
you don't
it.
like it. Well,
Sorry, Freddie.
Well, you're also wrong. No, I know what you mean, because, like I said before, it was just going to be really tough to follow up on A Night at the Opera.
Yeah.
And I've found that, like, for me, listening to their albums, like, each one that came out, it's like, oh, this wasn't like the last one. It's good, but it wasn't like the last one. So I don't know if it's, like, diminishing returns or what. I mean, I've got a run of their albums, and I've listened to them, like, I don't know how many times, endlessly. I mean, I've listened to them over and over and over, so I don't have any problem with them. But I think it's like taking them separately, as opposed to if I listened to them chronologically, I would probably get that hit of, oh yeah, this one isn't like the last one,
It's
which
like
wasn't like the last one.
If you were to put it on a histogram, then you could see it going down and down and down and down.
Yeah, I suppose, but it wouldn't be like
It wouldn't be too
it
drastic.
wouldn't be a steep hill. It would be more, I guess,
Flat line.
almost like a little gradual angle. I mean, I've for quite a while I was not disappointed in the stuff that they were putting out. And like I said, when the 80s came, I just don't think that it was the right decade for them. I mean, the first album, like in the 80s, The Game, solid album, really good, but you could already see them planting the seeds for the direction that they were going or wanted to go. And I know that, I think it was Roger and Brian weren't too thrilled with that direction, but they still went along.
Do you think it's maybe because I know, like, when the 80s came along, did they take a little break for a little while? And, like, I know that Freddie did, like, his own solo album, so maybe when they took a break and then came back to record in the studio, it kind of wasn't the same afterward? I mean, it wasn't so much that they, like, hated each other. It's like, let's just take a little break and do our own stuff for a while, and then we'll come back to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I gotta say about Queen is they're one of the few bands I know that didn't have, like, any, like fights or, I mean, I could be wrong, but nothing.
If they fought, then they knew how to resolve it.
Yeah, because it was nothing, like, heavily publicized. It wasn't like, the Rolling Stones or the Beatles towards the end, where it was like, everyone just knew. Maybe
it's also because, with bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, they were very young when they started. And I don't know how young Queen was when they started, but they weren't as young, so maybe they were a little more mature.
Yeah, it's true, because they were doing the college thing, and then they did the band, and then some of them went back to school.
Some of them had wives and kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's because, like, you know, they were grown-ass adults, and they knew how to handle things in a civilized way.
And plus, I think at the outset, it was, again, like Freddie's theory was that, you know, if you write the song, you get to do what you want. That's how this band is gonna, you know, operate.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie said in Bohemian Rhapsody, I keep bringing it up, they said, how are you different from the other bands? The other bands referring to all the other bands in the British invasion decades prior, and he said, we're four misfits that don't belong together, yet we work. So it's kind of like, you know, maybe they just, like, bonded up with each other over, like, how different they were. There's one story that I want to bring up. It's kind of sad, but it just goes to show you, like, the solidarity of the band. It was, I think, maybe a day or two after Freddie died, and Brian May and Roger were going on the press circuit because, you know, people wanted to talk to them. And I guess they ended up on this British morning talk show where the other guest on that day was, like, a popular performer. I think he might have been a magician or something. And so they asked him, hey, how do you feel about what happened to Freddie Mercury? And then he went, well, I don't really care. I never really listened to it. I'm not really into rock and roll. Not that sophisticated compared to, you know, the classics. And then he looks at them and he goes, but I do feel bad for you. And it cuts to Roger Taylor in, like, his 60s going, what a dick! And, like, you can see Brian and Roger, like, they're already dead inside, but now they're even more dead inside. And I just watched the interview and I'm like, oh, I feel bad. Because it was, like, clearly, it's like, you know, these were all four men who were, like, best friends and brothers, and they loved each other. And, you know, to hear someone shitting on your best friend, like, days after he died, I'm surprised they didn't, like, punch him on camera or something.
That would have made good TV. The one thing I remember about Freddie dying was, like, all this stuff coming on the radio and on TV. Oh, he was so great, and da-da-da, and it was such a great band. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Before he died, it was like, oh, these guys are terrible, da-da-da-da-da. You know, like I said, the critics hated him. And
so
I'm, like, yelling into the air or to no one, you know, where were you people when he was alive?
Yeah, that might have meant more to him then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah, too little too late.
One of the reasons that I wanted to do Queen for this episode was because, you know, when Bohemian Rhapsody came out, again, it was like I was doing all this research into Queen, downloading more songs, and it's like when people think of Queen, I've noticed that some people just think of Freddie.
Yeah, it's Freddie and the three other guys.
Yeah, but if you listen to interviews from the band, that's not how they saw it at all, and that's not how Freddie saw it at all. It's like, no, it's the four of us, and, you know, to quote Paul McCartney again, it's four corners of a square. You get rid of any of those corners, it collapses. So, like, you know, if Brian May had died, or if Deacon had died, like, there wouldn't have been maybe as much, like, press attention, but Queen wouldn't have been able to recover at all, no matter which one of them had either died or just decided, I've had enough, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so thank you for listening to us talk about Queen and talking about A Day at the Races. We will be back for another episode where we find another album to nitpick and gripe about. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like to let us know. And let us know in the comments and maybe Queen trivia we didn't know, or just what you think. And if you want to know when more episodes are coming out, we upload every Friday, so tap the bell to get notifications if you would like. Alright, have a good night, guys. We'll see you next time for the next album.
Bye.
Bye.